I call upon the Ministry of Sports, Athletics Kenya, and National Olympics Committee of Kenya, NOC, in collaboration with Beijing Sports Competition and International Sports Exchange Center, to provide a comprehensive update on the investigation into concerning an incident during the Beijing half marathon. In this incident, it involved our athletes ushering a Chinese marathoner to win a race. And people are making comments that maybe Kenyans are starting to pay the loan by allowing them to win. This, among other issues, Mr. Speaker, sir, such as doping, fixing athletics and sports, tarnish our nation's repute internationally and undermine the principles of fair play and transparency in sportsmanship and kills the spirit of competition. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I urge our athletes, sportsmen and women, when they are winning, they should win. When they are losing, they should lose, Mr. Speaker. And what we saw in Beijing half marathon is very unfortunate, where they were supposed to win the 3, but because they wanted a Chinese to win the race, they retreated back. And I think, Mr. Speaker, we must have a comprehensive report on the same.
Africa has a problem, okay? Africans have a tendency to let other races step over them. They're too humble or too gullible, just letting the other people win.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be on a losing team.
True.
And until African people start winning globally, nobody wants to be a part of us. This is why you have Spanish-speaking Africans in the Caribbean who will call themselves Latino or Hispanic. They're Africans, but who wants to be part of a losing team? It's just like when you go throughout Africa, it's not, I still run across Africans who will tell you, I'm French, I'm British. You understand? Because nobody wants to be part of a losing team.
Yeah.
But the minute African people get our situation back in order, everybody who don't want to be black will proudly return to the race. We have to give them something to be proud of. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, the white man has made being black a curse. I'm going to make being black a blessing. He said we have to sell being African back to the African.
Africa has a problem in its midst with its attitude. Africans have a tendency to let the other race win, to let the other race just come over, conquer, and take over.
You might say, why is China giving Kenya more money than they know Kenya can pay back? You follow me? Why are they giving a poor country like Ethiopia more money? Because they don't want you to pay it back.
Right.
Because when you look at the contract, guess what it says? If you default on this loan,
we keep
all
your
your
land.
tea fields are mine.
There's a clip on the internet. These African runners let a Chinese opponent win in the Beijing marathon. They literally urged him on to the finish line. They showed him the way and they waited for him to win. Okay? Watch this.
On Sunday, China hosted the Beijing half marathon. Some 20,000 runners took part. They had to cover 21 kilometers. Up ahead, 4 runners were stuck together, one from China, 2 from Kenya, and 1 from Ethiopia. The African runners were slightly ahead, but in the final stretch, something strange happened. The African runners asked the Chinese runner to overtake them. You can see them wave him through. Take a look.
是的。小时4分左右的水平，我们看4个人很有默契呀，
对，在今天的这个全程当中，这4个人都是一直保持在一起。
是的，而且有沟通有交流，
这样是不是也是选手之间的一种相互促进？
是的，我们说积极的一种促进，
哇，越跑越快啊！何洁在最后是完全冲刺了起来。
You see, He Jie is quite the star in China. He's 25 years old. He won the marathon gold at the Asian Games. He also holds the national record, so making him win was a priority for the organizers.
You've all seen that, right? I didn't make this up, guys. They literally showed him the way. They showed him, this is how you win, okay? They could have won. They could have created a reputation for the respective countries. For Kenya and Ethiopia, they could have put their countries on the map, but no, they decided. I know China was hosting the marathon, but they had a decision to make, which was put their country on the map, but they decided to go against that and just let the other person win.
And the Chinese are creating conditions that they know you can't fulfill because ultimately they want the whole country.
We do have some people on Twitter who said that maybe the Africans were promised a bonus, or they had an assured amount of money that they would win if they had let this Chinese man win the race. Now, that's neither here or there because there's a whole investigation going into that, and I can't wait to hear the results of this investigation. But apparently, marathons are also quite popular in China, and there was a history of cheating the races in these particular marathons, you know. What? And there's so much more about that.
The problem is your corrupt leaders who go to China with empty bags and come back with money. They want money and they negotiate with money in their mind. So go there with proper ideas, not with corrupt mentality. And later you're going to say people have colonized you. When you go to China and say, give us a power station in exchange for OR Tambo Airport, why would they miss that opportunity? It's not them, it's your stupidity as leaders.
There's an investigation going into that, and I hope that I can see the results from that investigation. And yeah, let's move on. So I also came across this clip that was talking about how China is taking over Africa.
Africa no longer bows to the US. Much of the continent is now economically and politically aligned with the world's fastest emerging superpower, China. The simple answer for why this is because China has pumped huge amounts of money into the continent of Africa. They're buying allies. For example, China built a $3.2 billion railway in Kenya trekking the 300 miles from Nairobi, the capital, to Mombasa, the second largest city and primary port, in 4 hours and 30 minutes. It's important to note that these projects are not, though, free. China isn't just financing these projects out of kindness. For each of them, there's a political goal behind it. By investing in African mining and farming, China can profit off Africa's growth and fuel the business back in China that requires minerals and food. But in addition to serving as a source of natural resources, Africa has another resource: labor. Right now, Africa is establishing itself as the source of labor and resources for China, and so, until the West pays attention, Africa will continue inching forward on its path towards becoming China's China.
You know what's funny? When I watched this clip, something came to mind. Someone was saying Africa is China's new China because
The reason China is so thirsty for Africa is because whoever controls Africa controls the world.
if you think about it, the US used to go to China for cheap labor and the cheap products and whatnot, but now China is now a superpower, or is now a power country, you know, and whatnot. So they're also looking for cheap labor. And guess what? Guess who has the cheap labor waiting for them with open arms?
It's Africa.
You guessed it. It's Africans, or Africa in general. It's literally African leaders just handing their people over to these to the Chinese for cheap labor. You know, like, go ahead, use them for what you want. And you know, I won't even look any further, because when I think of Uganda itself, the last airport, the previous one, as you get out, you're literally seeing a Chinese word. What does it mean? Tonoma Ugandan, I do not understand what it means.
That's colonialism, where you just take your port and give it to other people, surrendering your sovereignty, and later you're going to say people have colonized you. When you go to China and say, give us a power station in exchange for OR Tambo Airport, why would they miss that opportunity? It's not them, it's your stupidity as leaders.
The airport. And you can see this all over Africa. The Chinese are building so many things, you know. They're contributing to the infrastructure. They're working on the trains, the railways, the roads. You know, they're doing so much. Trust me, most of the roads you see being constructed in Uganda have like a Chinese top person, and then it's like the Ugandans doing these manual labor types of things. You know, it's rare for me.
All this the Chinese is doing, none of it is being done as a handout. It's all loans with conditions. And the Chinese are creating conditions that they know you can't fulfill, because ultimately they want the whole country. But here's the issue I got with Jamaica, I got with Africa, I got it with all the black countries when it comes to China. Why are you hiring Chinese engineers to come build your roads, build your buildings, create your infrastructure, if you have an engineering program,
I don't see that many Ugandans in top positions when working with these Chinese. The one thing that I see the most is the Chinese backing orders to Africa. Why it's taking over Africa, but I kind of want us to dive deep on why the Chinese are actually taking over Africa, like the real reasons.
the money that China is giving Africa are not grants. They are loans. You might say, why is China giving Kenya more money than they know Kenya can pay back? You follow me? Why they giving a poor country like Ethiopia more money? Because they don't want you to pay it back.
Right.
Because when you look at the contract, guess what it says? If you default on this loan,
we keep
all your
land.
tea fields are mine. All your copper mines are mine. All your oil reserves are mine. And guess what? You already have an African nation that has defaulted on the loan. As a result of the default, China now owns all of a particular resource in that country. And they in Africa is to take over the resources, just like the white man.
I feel like this clip just sums most of the things up. And a few things stood out to me. You know that line that he said that China plans to colonize Africa? They will succeed. They will succeed. Africans are just so easy to trample over. They're just so easy to convince to think about themselves than a whole. If they came to the Kenyan and said, hey, let the Chinese man win and we give you this money, the Kenyan could have said, you know what? I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for my country. But no, he said, you know what? I need to feed my family. And he probably took the money. And that is what is going to happen because there's a pattern, There's a pattern. The Chinese are coming and they're giving loans to African countries, And these are not grants. Like he said, they're giving loans to African countries. African countries are taking the loans with like a payback period of 100 years? And like a huge interest? And do you think African countries are going to pay back those loans? Let me know right now. Do you think these African countries are going to pay back these loans? I doubt that. I highly doubt that. And I am from an African country too, I doubt that they're going to actually pay back these loans to rid themselves of debt. No, they will stay in debt and find ways to be in more debt just to move forward. And that is what is going to happen to us Africans. If you're an African watching this, that's what's going to happen. They're going to come and take everything because you took their money and didn't pay back. You get that? Like nothing is free in this world. If they're coming here and saying we will construct this, construct that, and then the African country is like, okay, what do you need in return? They're like, no, you know what? Take your time. We understand you're developing. Take your time. But should the time come for you to pay, this is the amount you'll be paying us back. And because some people are really short-sighted, they'll be like, oh yeah, you know what? Give us the money and let us do something for ourselves. Forgetting that your great-great-great-grandkids will be paying for a debt that you took on. And then they're paying for your sins. They're basically paying for your sins because which Africa are we living for our great-great-grandkids? We're living in Africa that's just in debt to the Chinese. We are indebted to them. There's nothing. The times you go through Kampala and you see so many Chinese shops like in their language. Do you understand what it means to be on foreign land and just have your, whatever it is that you're doing prosper and no one is batting an eye because you're not harming anyone. So they're just like, oh, okay, go ahead, do it. The other thing that I've also seen, is that they're not just coming over to, to keep you indebted to them for life. They're also coming to intermarry. Some of you forget this. Some of you forget some of them don't come with their wives. They don't come with their partners or something. They are human beings at the end of the day. And who do they turn to? African women. African women.
Colleagues from Uganda Investment Authority appeared before the Committee of Trade and Investment to respond to the queries on a number of issues raised by citizens. Key among the complaints was that foreigners, especially the Chinese, were engaging in petty trade and crowding out Ugandans, yet according to the regulations, foreigners should essentially bring in skills that not many Ugandans possess. The officials told the committee that a number of Chinese men are now marrying Ugandan women in a bid to obtain citizenship, and as citizens, they would then engage in any business without fear of the law catching up with them.
We know that most Chinese here now know that it's easy to have foreign marriages. Foreign marriages. And they've gone ahead conduct marriages, there are some commission agents.
We normally subject them to come for interviews, and many of them have been found to be in marriages of convenience or marriages which are not existing. Some have been prosecuted, others have been removed from the country. But we have many who are married and even producing. They are very quick at producing. Our Ugandan women are good at accepting producing with these men. You find that someone, by the time they come, they have 3 children, and they are asking for a facility. And they claim that the marriage is lawful. Now, what do you do?
Some of the lawmakers also noted that there is also another trend where some Nigerian men marry Ugandan women so as to get easy access to the European countries and the US.
Sometimes countries like Nigeria find it hard to get UK visas, US visas. So they say, we'll go to Uganda. When I have my money and I have the Ugandan passport, I can get a visa as a Ugandan. So sometimes you see the list of Ugandans in Chinese prisons.
We need now stronger laws that can make it difficult for people, because 3 years is a short period for someone to persist.
According to the Immigration Directorate, the last 6 years, they have investigated 6,652 foreigners for illegal entry into Uganda. 1,926 were deported in the period, while from July to October, 114 foreigners were deported for illegal entry. The officials were also told that 165 billion shillings was collected from visa fee in 2015 alone. Meanwhile, the MPs asked officials of the Uganda Investment Authority about the number of investors licensed to do business in Uganda.
The Committee of Trade and Industry went to discover that many people who are licensed as Chinese and they are from China are in Ichikubo instead of being investors.
We have a crisis of pseudo-investors. These investors who cannot meet the required standards of investment.
The officials told the MPs that there was a gap in the laws which some foreigners like the Chinese exploit to open up shops in downtown Kampala. But the MPs later threw out the Uganda investment.
Now, 2 things that stand out to me. This man had the audacity to say the Ugandan women are very open to marrying these men, because when they go for the interviews to justify their marriage, they have 2 kids already. I understand his frustration because I said it, we are the problem.
I'm going to tell you exactly why I believe that is. He must be a Chinese man who's doing something there, and it must be something that is to be respected. No, Africans are not going to be supporting you if you're not doing something there.
If you're not embracing their culture and them, they're not going to support you.
Yeah, these guys are coming in with their resources. They're coming in offering some level of opportunity for these people, and the women there are going to be looking at these guys like, okay, well, you're from someplace else, and if I marry my own guys, maybe they don't want to marry me, and what will my future be? I need to secure myself. And then their family is like, well, this is a good opportunity for you. So the question is, well, why are not the other black men around the world doing something in Africa such that he would not have to come there? So then that's the fundamental question, because the Chinese guy came there and made the sacrifice. So these women are not going to stay here and be race loyal to you. My whole world has been extremely black. Staying away as much as you can from whites and everybody else and trying to develop with your group, but it's not realistic for everybody else.
Today, we're not blaming anyone. It's ours, because this is very funny. It's just like, what are they telling these women? To get them like citizenship? Well, this is what is happening, because the intermarrying to get citizenship. But the consequences to intermarriage, interracial marriage. We can sit here and, say love who you want. Obviously, love who you want. We wish you the best wherever you are. But there are consequences to interracial marriages. If a Chinese is marrying a Ugandan lady, then of course they're having like a child who is mixed race. So now, first of all, number 1, identity crisis. Because I'm pretty sure if the Chinese Ugandan child is playing with Ugandan kids are going to throw some words. Kids are mean, by the way. Kids are mean when they want to be, And then when he goes over there, again, kids are mean. Someone is going to say something that's just going to throw him off. So already that is a problem in itself. But let's get back on track. Now, this clearly shows us that some people are not going through the right channels to get what they need. Because in this exact clip too, this man said, the investors are in Chikubo. Chikubo is like downtown. It's a downtown area in Uganda where you can find anything that you need. So many retailers and wholesalers. The idea is, the Ugandan government says if a Chinese is coming on board, let them come as an investor. That's why they let them in. So they get surprised when the Chinese comes into the country and they're not an investor, but they're competing with a common Ugandan, like a Omuntu Wawansi.
And I think Uganda is becoming a destination that is not good for investors, especially local investors. Madam Speaker, there are about 5 issues that we need to address. One is the government policy. We are talking of import substitution. We are protecting investors who have put their investment in Uganda, but now we are over-taxing imports. And that's why right now these people produce, distribute, retail, knocking out our local traders. And that's a very serious matter of protecting foreign investors. We are overprotecting them. For example, Madam Speaker, foreign investors are given more support than the local investors. First of all, when especially in the construction industry, they import their vehicles, which is tax-free. Everything that they bring into the country, they are not taxed, apart from tax holidays that they are given. So they are actually knocking out all the local investors. Madam Speaker, when you go now to Kampala Road, we used to trade there. Ugandans used to be there after we removed the Indians. But now they have all come back. When you go to Kampala Road, you find that all the shops are being owned by, you see their colors. We are being knocked out. We are now coming to supermarkets. These people import and then they take to their own supermarket. In other countries, this does not exist. When you go to Ethiopia, a foreigner is not allowed to operate a supermarket. It is only reserved for local participation.
Ugandans are so hospitable, they're so loving, and I feel like we are so accepting of certain things that we should not be accepting. We need to stand our ground.
They don't know what they're saying.
Yes, you heard that correctly. The kids are saying, in Chinese, I'm a black monster. My IQ is low. This video was released in February 2020 on a Chinese social media account called, get this, Jokes About Black People Club. Within days, it had more than 4,000 likes and a ton of comments. Some people were laughing.
Here's another of many accounts like this. This one tried recording a girl bathing and does things with racist connotations.
Like, let's be real, some Chinese don't like Africans. I want you guys to watch this clip of a South African in China who was abused.
Hello, my name is Nolusendi So. I'm from South Africa. I'm currently based in Shanghai, China, and I work as a kindergarten teacher. On Wednesday, August 23rd, during a disagreement, the HR manager at my job, a guy, punched me on my face. After he punched me and I was screaming, trying to get out of his office, he pushed me down on the couch, telling me that I needed to sit down. I screamed and I was trying to get my phone so I can take pictures and videos of what was happening. Instead, he grabbed my phone and said he didn't have my phone anymore. I don't know how I got out of the office, but somehow I got out, and I was running in the passage of this kindergarten trying to get help. There were various women there. All of them just watched and did nothing. I managed to run to the stairs, but by the time I got to the stairs, he was already there, and he was preventing me from going past him. I was screaming, but he was pulling me, preventing me from leaving. I don't know what came to my head, but I thought about a different exit, and I ran towards the different exit, but he was chasing me. And during the time that he was chasing me, he was singing a song, humming a song, as though to distract me in case so that I can fall and he can catch me. I managed to get out of the building, and there was another lady outside the building shouting for for the securities officers to close the gate so I wouldn't get out. But what happened is the security officer made a mistake. Instead of closing the gate, he opened the gate. And then I ran, managing to get out. By the time I got out, I had no shoes on, no socks on. They had taken my phone. I had no bag on. It was just me and nothing on my hands. I didn't know what to do, so I started walking on the streets, and I came across a young Chinese lady. Asked her if she speak English, and she said yes. I asked her to call the cops. She called the cops arrived, and we went back to the kindergarten. When we arrived at the kindergarten, they had gathered everything that belonged to me in a table, telling me that the reason why they were preventing me from leaving is because they wanted me to calm down so they can call the cops to resolve the issue, despite the fact that I wasn't feeling safe, and that is why I wanted to run away. Then the guy who had punched me told the cops that he did not punch me, that I hit my eye on the couch. I asked them to release the CCTV footage of the building while I was running, and they said they don't have it. We went to the police station. At the police station, the vice principal who saw everything happen said that she didn't see anything, and that when this guy might have hit me, she was on the phone, so she didn't see anything. When I arrived there, the cops basically told me that my visa is expiring next week and I do not have proof that this guy has hit me, and therefore I needed to settle. Feeling like I didn't have a choice, I ended up settling for compensation. I'm making this video because there are so many of us out here who are suffering under the hands of our employers, who continue to disobey the law and treat us very poorly. And I'm also making this video because I feel very powerless in this situation. They told me that if I talk to anybody or go to the media about the situation, then they would sue me and I would have to go to jail or get deported. They also threatened to put me on some teachers' blacklist in China so that I would never get a job in China. They also refused to give me any documents that would allow me to work anywhere else in China during this moment. But I'm not okay with just keeping quiet and pretending like this is okay and nothing happened. And I hope if you're seeing this video, you pass it to as many people as possible so that people know that this happens to me.
Guys, I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't know how else I can say this.
This is the only continent that has welcomed all civilization. They abused us.
Because what she went through is disheartening. It's disheartening, and I'm pretty sure she shouldn't have gone through that if she was in her home country. But I can understand she moved for greener pastures. The greener pastures were turning red. She was suffering, you know? And that's it. Like, you're not liked over there. Don't go there thinking you're the besties. Like, let's get this through our heads. You know, we're not liked over there. Let's stay in our land and build our land.
Move back to Africa. That's my goal.
Okay.
I want to get as many African Americans back home to Africa as I possibly can. Because I know the day they move back, everything they fighting for in America, they will not have to fight for over there.
We need to wake up, you know, both African leaders, African people. You know what? When we want to blame African leaders, you could be the next leader. You're taking your corruption. You yourself could be the next leader and you'll still take your corruption somewhere else. So it starts with us, because a leader is not a robot somewhere. No, they're everyday people. They're walking among us, and they were once ours before they, held a position of prestige. So it all starts with us. It all starts with we need to see that there's so much Africa has to offer. We have so many minerals. We have an amazing young population full of thinkers, full of people who can do so much. We need to concentrate on that. The recent thing Uganda is trying to do, build more factories and become more of a manufacturer than a consumer. And I feel like that's the right way to go, because most we've had this thinking that we need to wait, we need to buy things from China, we need to wait for the Chinese. No, but what if we buy things from ourselves and wait on ourselves? Well, not wait, like count on ourselves to do good and do better.
I'm talking about Africa-China relationship. We see it to be a win-win cooperation, but to me, living in China for 6 years, that is not a win-win cooperation. Our people in here are signing contract that will benefit their pocket. So China has seen that, and they're going to feed you with money because money is not a problem in China. So they're going to pump in money, of which they know that if they're giving you $1 billion, at the end of the day, they're going to earn $5 billion. So they don't care. So it's about time the leaders in Africa would think twice and say that we're going to sign deals that will benefit the people of the continent, but not our pocket. So, I mean, it's not a win-win cooperation. They're actually taking advantage of us. And if you don't take care, they will soon colonize the continent.
I feel like Wodemaya said it best. We need to hold our leaders accountable to sign contracts that benefit Africans and not just their pocket, you know, not just that you can Baganda call it enjaulo, like, oh, where do I come in, or what's my cut? Enjaulo is a cut, like, what's my cut? What's in it for me? No, but look at Africa as a collective. I'm speaking for Uganda. Look at Uganda as a collective. Like, imagine a leader wakes up one day and is like, yeah, this contract is not good for my people. Just imagine when that day comes, you know? And it starts with each and every one of you. Now, tell me what you think in the comment section, because, you know, I can go on and on, but I want to hear from you guys and I want to interact with you in the comment section. Just, you know, take me through it. Like, let me know, what are the Chinese doing in your respective countries that you've seen and you would like to, you know, to change about it. Like, let me know what goes on, you know? Let me know in the comment section, yeah? And also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, do all the nice things. Follow me on all my social media pages at Janita Maya, and I'll see you guys next time.